Hi everyone, thanks for coming to today's workshop. Can everyone hear me? Yes. I'm Adrian, not Adrian Teo. What we're here today, what we want to achieve today is just an introduction to Drupal, basic technology behind Drupal, how this Drupal is going to work in our whole ASU infrastructure in terms of content management. And we are going to walk through the basic features of Drupal, try to get your questions answered, and stuff like where to get an account, how to get an account, how do I set myself up. The whole goal of this whole Drupal thing is, instead of going with, we're using the Drupal as a content management solution for web content in general across the campus. Why Drupal? Instead of going to an enterprise-wide content management system, we're trying to focus on individual content management systems for different departments, different groups. This gives you direct access to access control within the group, who can create content, who can publish content. The strength of Drupal is because it's very flexible. It can be customized to do almost any functionality. And it also decouples the design and the content aspect. So we can actually push out unified look and feel throughout campus if you wish to adopt that look and feel, but you can also change look and feel, customize look and feel as and when you like. And with Drupal, we are able to do RSS feeds both ways, upwards and downwards, and we want to form a hierarchy of sites where we can start filtering data upwards from your individual sites up to www.asu.edu, the main ASU site. That allows us to come down and get content from various sites and reuse it as reusable content. From a web development standpoint, it's an accelerator for us. Instead of having individual groups develop this stuff and then redevelop stuff at a higher level, we just reuse content again and again for a consistent site throughout. We can also share information downwards in terms with RSS feeds, so that you guys can also be consumers of this RSS content. Hi, there's pizza. Help yourself. So it's a two-way thing. First of all, how do I get started with Drupal? We just introduced a web hosting solution for ASU to give dynamic content capability, basically PHP and CGI access to departments and groups or different units within ASU. And this is the administrative interface. How do you get an account? We will be setting up an account request system through the current form site. That's at forms.asu.edu. It's going to be set up shortly. You could always email me if you need an account. We'll be glad to set you up. This is our web hosting solution. This is our web hosting solution, and if any of you are familiar with commercial web hosting that's available out there with GoDaddy or whatever web hosting provider, they use similar software like what we do. We are using direct admin because we've got a great deal, great licensing agreement with the authors of the software, and it allows us to give that type of service. We have PHP access, PHP 4.2, and we have integrated databases, built-in MySQL databases, and we have CGI access. Each account, you can create multiple sites with each individual account. So if your department has 5 different websites, for example, CLAS, they can create a site for English department, another for math, and so on and so forth. So it's powerful in that way, and it takes away the administration from the web content building. Big feature that is not provided, it has to be done on the server, and you can do a self-service installation of different items. I'm going to go to my user account and basically show you what it's all about. We have basic setups, and we have the MySQL management and email accounts. The email account section is really not active because we don't want to double the email infrastructure that we have at ASU, so we're looking at this way. Most commonly used thing here is the last link, which is called Installatron. This brings you to a collection of open source software that's available on our system, and you can be ready to install within a click. You can click and to install Drupal, for example. This is how we're going to use. This is the system that we're going to use to push out Drupal to enable you guys to have Drupal access. To install Drupal, all you need to do is just go into Drupal, and it's going to prompt me for new install. I'm going to do new install Drupal. Install at web.asu.edu. It's going to prompt me to create a new database, and I'll do the open source agreement. Actually creating a database in the back end, and we have Drupal partially configured right now. And now we're going to complete the installation of Drupal by creating the primary account. We are creating the first account, and I'll call myself the first account created in Drupal is always the administrative account. This account will have all permissions to do everything in Drupal within this instance of Drupal. Yeah.
It's a good idea for this is the creator account. So even if you're the creator, you might want to go back in and create another account with your name, and another password, and give yourself administrative rights, and use that one instead of the creator account working in Drupal. You'll be able to do everything, but I don't think you're supposed to use the creator account. Do you know why?
It's like having group access to a Unix machine.
So what is Drupal all about? Drupal is a flexible content management system that's completely open source. It's grown over the years, but it's only gained in popularity the last 2 years. Yes. There are amazing sites that are built in Drupal. If you visit Cosby, Stills, Nash and Young's website, they're all built in Drupal. Cosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
Hillary Clinton's website is Drupal.
Hillary Clinton's site? Oh, just that is way half the crowd.
Yeah, the Onion is interesting.
The Onion is Drupal, that's right. And
How was it? I heard a discussion, or read a discussion on Drupal's site where they were saying that the difference between Drupal and some of the other, like WordPress, those are content management systems, whereas Drupal is more of a framework or a platform to build websites. Because you can do so much with it that it's really bigger than just a simple content management system. I don't talk in public.
you make me do it, right? Nice example.
Takes care of all things.
So,
This is the ASU web community website. We have
So basically, different domains for each exit department, and if they have multiple sites for contents they're holding or they need to be installed.
We built this site completely through Drupal. The goal of this site is to provide a central web resource for everyone in here, all the web developers on campus, students, student groups, different departments. We wish to share basically a collective knowledge of web technologies. You know, if we are doing code, you might be working on adding web art to a forum. Someone else might be doing the exact same thing, but we may have that code available so we can actually share and not double up our work as a whole. We hope to eventually use the web hosting system to push out modifications like that, adding web art to your applications. We add ASU look and feel to your applications just by clicking on it, and we'll just do a straight install.
I know the web
Okay.
So I'm Jeff Beeman. I work for Altai, and we started using Drupal for a couple different projects, but one of the big ones is the Ideal project. If you're not familiar with it, it's a statewide K-12, I guess we call it a portal, but it's not really a portal, it's an environment for students and teachers in K-12 to go take classes and things like that. So we use it for our content management system there. But this project right here has been a lot of fun because we got to do some fun stuff with it. And so what you're seeing here on the quick links is just really a list of different content types within Drupal. And really Drupal is built around that concept of you've got content, but each content has a type. And so there are, by default, you get stuff like forums and polls, you get blog entries, things like that. But there are some fun modules that we can talk about later that allow you to build your own content types. So we built articles and resources. So resources are links to external sites. Articles are just that, articles about different topics. And then we've got a whole forums area that these guys set up. They did a really nice job with it. And then the one thing, kind of my main involvement with this site has been the projects area. Let me log in. So how many of you are familiar with Subversion or CVS? It's basically a code repository. If you're familiar with wikis, it's sort of like a wiki for your code. You can check your code in and out of this repository. And it keeps track of changes and lets you share code with other people, work on projects together, and things like that. So our group, Altai, has had a Subversion server up for the past like 18 months or so. And we're starting to get more and more people using it. And managing the permissions for the different projects became a nightmare. So we built a module in Drupal that lets us manage the permissions through Drupal projects. So projects, the projects module is a module that's put out by the Drupal community. And we basically built an extension to it So if I jump into, let's say, clinical tracking is a project that I worked on. Just by building the module, I was able to add this tab here, so SPM permissions. And from here, I can assign different permissions to people to use those, to access those projects. And the reason I want to show this is because, like, I was able to just build it on the Drupal framework. Like Kathy was saying, I didn't have to build an entire site. I didn't have to build user management, group management, all that stuff. Drupal takes care of it for me. I just had to build the one little piece that I needed.
FYI, the code repository is available as a UTO service. If you guys wish to use the code repository, visit forms.asu.edu. There are 2 forms on there. The first form is a request for repository to be created for your group. And the second is a request for access to a particular repository.
And there are actually instructions on this site right here. That'll link you to the forums site as well.
Question. I'm trying to go to the community site and it's saying access is denied. Is that something that's going to be opened up later?
On web.asu.edu/community?
Yeah, I'm getting a few dozen warnings, and then I get access is denied.
Might be logged into WebOff, but not.
Just right there?
Yeah.
Anyone else having that problem?
I'm getting to the view/projects fine, but the parent page is. Oh, it's working now. Sorry.
Okay.
My bad.
There's a weird little bug with the WebOff module that for some, I haven't quite figured it out yet, but sometimes it thinks you're logged in when you're not, but I can't figure out when it happens.
So there is an integrated WebOff module for.
We have the WebOff module, and yeah, we will make this available to all instances of Drupal.
If we have a third party, we're running a Drupal staff content page for non-super secret documentation for our staff. Is it possible to get that from you at some point?
Yeah.
I'll send you an email.
Sure.
And actually, yeah, if you're familiar with Subversion, when you go to the projects page, do you see a Drupal link on there?
I already tried. It gave me a login prompt, but I didn't try to log into it.
It did give you a login prompt when you put it in.
Well, when I go to the view project source, I just I should do that.
Right. Okay. You should be able to copy that URL and check out from there, though. You should, like, if you have a Subversion client.
Okay.
So.
I see it. So svn.asu.edu/svn Drupal. Got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So one of the other things you'll see over here is, let me jump back real quick. We've got a module on here called groups, which may or may not be appropriate for all use cases. In our case, we've got a lot of different groups of people that we're organizing on this site. On your site, you may or may not want to have groups of people. You may just have a site where all the authors can just be authors in one area, and that's fine. Usually that's enough. But if you find yourself, like you were talking about CLTE having different subgroups, you could do that with the groups module, or like Adrian was saying, you could just make a different Drupal site for each one. Wow, there's lots of people signing up. That's cool.
You would just want to walk over the basics of
basics.
administration. After you create the site.
So once you've created a site, you'll have an administration link here. And clicking on that kind of gives you a log of recent blog messages. But
is the default Drupal install. This is what you're going to see when you do a brand new Drupal install.
So some of the things you can do straight out of the box, just to kind of get things customized. You can go to settings, and you can set up your site name. Demo site. Email address. This is, like it says, it's used as a registration email address for notifications and things like that. The mission and footer message, if I come back to the home page, this is a little bit different view than I'll have in a second, but the mission statement shows up at the top, and then the footer shows up at the bottom. So
notice a change to workshop demo site.
So now you see our mission and the footer. So that's one of the first basic things. The other thing is themes. You can come into your themes area. You can see we're using the blue marine theme as the default theme. There are also 3 other ones. And then you can actually go to Drupal.org and download hundreds of themes as a starting point.
We also have a standard ASU theme that we're using right now, and that's open to use if anyone's interested. It's just installation, it's just putting it in a directory and it's ready to go.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's already in the works, but you know, we really need for the standards process, if there was some starter themes that actually had the colors, the color palettes, and the right pixels and everything.
We will be offering those themes to install account, basically a click, and it's going to install, and all you need to do is just turn it on.
And there'll be a variation on this.
Several variations.
Which cat? So in your theme settings, and each theme is a little different, but this default theme, you can come configure it. You can toggle display of the mission statement, the site name, the logo. You can upload a different logo. So if we wanted to replace that little alien head, we could. And then I guess probably the next place to go. Because I have a feeling most of you are going to just go in and start playing just by yourself. You're going to set up a little site and just start playing. Probably one of the first things you're going to want to do is create content. And by default, you get a page and a story. And the way I like to think about these is a page is something that you would have show up as a single page within Drupal, within a website. So your about page that talks about your group's mission and things like that would be a page. I like to think of story as something that would appear in a list of news or something else. Technically, in terms of Drupal, they're the same thing. So how you use them is really up to you. I like to kind of give people the advice to think about them that way, so you can start mentally separating out how you think about content. Or you don't even have to use one of the types if you don't want to. So you've got those kinds of content, but there are other kinds of content as well that you can enable under the modules area. I'll go back over this after I talk about the different types of content you can enable, but there's blog, so you can enable blogs, and the way blogs work is that they're matched up with a user, so every user in your system that has the ability to write blog entries has their own blog within Drupal. There's also forum, so you can create forums. Forums are hierarchical, so you can have them sit within categories. And is polls, where you can just set up quick little survey type things. That's it, out of the box. Oh yeah, the blocks. Oh yeah, book, right. Book is another content type. So, Drupal.org has handbooks, and when you go into a handbook, you get sort of a page-style navigation that you can navigate through the book. That's how books within Drupal work. So it's just it's another way of like hierarchically organizing the content. So anyways, if I come to create a story, I get really basic stuff. And this is stuff I'm sure you guys have seen in other systems. Title, body. Drupal has a few options here for input format where you can say what type of code you've written in up here. Filtered HTML really allows you to kind of write plain text, and it'll insert line breaks where appropriate and things like that for you. Whereas if you're a site admin, you could even enter PHP code here. You can turn comments on and off for the story that you've written. You can set it to appear within a menu. I'll talk more about menus in a second. And then you can change publishing options, so whether or not the page has been published, whether it's promoted to the front page, all this kind of stuff.
Okay, quick question on comments, Jeff.
Yeah.
Does Drupal allow for anonymous comments?
If you want.
That is an option?
Yeah. And there are some modules to help you out with that. Like there's a caption module that has users, solve a math problem or something like that before they can post a comment.
Yeah, is that what spam filtering would
Yeah,
have?
so, and the other thing you can do is like you can set comments to be, so you can allow people to post comments, but they won't appear until you view them and okay them. I think someone's actually made an Akismet plugin, which is, it's really popular in the WordPress community where your blog communicates with this service called Akismet to verify that the person who's posting this comment is okay to be posting the comment. I think it does it based on email address.
You can also configure comments to go through an moderation view. So you allow comments to come in, but you want them to show, it's up to you.
How deep you can go with creating these pages? You have your own original page, you may create another page on it, and on this page you can create another page, and so on. Yeah, so you can just spread this. How far?
I think kind of what you're asking is, like, are you familiar with wikis? Where you can like
I'm familiar with this.
Create a link to a page that doesn't exist and then make a page based on that page.
Yes.
Not in Drupal. Drupal is like you're really just entering content that's completely focused on the page you're at. But with like the book module, you can have relationships between pages. So this page is a child of this page or is a parent of this page.
Yes. Yes.
You can do that with the book module. So I talked about, here, let me go ahead and submit this. So now, back on the home page, we've got our Hello World story. But let's say I wanted to have that show up in a menu. Maybe we want the quick links menu on the sidebar there. Under Administer Menus, I can add a new menu. Quick links. So now you'll see this is the navigation menu that's listed here. And now I've got a quick links menu here as well. So I'll just add So where is it? Right? That's the first thing that everyone says when they make a new menu in Drupal, where to go. It works on, Drupal manages this type of content on the idea of blocks. And so a block is any sort of block of content. So this menu here is a block.
Right sidebar.
That right sidebar can have blocks in it.
Foot header is also a block.
Right. And so you've got these regions where you can place these blocks. So you can see right now we've got user login and navigation are blocks that we have enabled. You're not seeing the user login because we're already logged in. But if I enable this quick links block, and I'll just keep it where it's at, now you can see it right there. I can really easily move that to the right sidebar if I want. Now it's over here. Now let's say I enable the Who's Online block. And I'll move it over to the right sidebar. Right now, the Who's Online block is below the Quick Links block. If I want to reorganize those, I can do it using the weighting system. And you'll see this all over Drupal. There are weights associated with all kinds of different types of content. And what it does is you've got this list from -10 to 10 that you can choose from. And so the idea is that things that are lighter float up and things that are heavier sink down. So Drupal's default way of organizing blocks is by the first letter in the description, alphabetically. So that's a little deceiving right there, but I would bet if I refresh this page, it would. No. But you can see here it's showing up in the right order, right? Quick links, then Who's Online. But if I want Who's Online to come up first, I can just change the weight to something lighter than quick links. So if I make it -1, now Who's Online is up at the top. Yeah.
Recently, I've faced a problem using Drupal. I accidentally disabled the user login. So how do you?
Yeah, and a lot of times I'll actually disable the user login on purpose because like I don't want that form on the front of my site. But you can add a link to a page that lets people log in.
It's typically
So,
/user.
Yeah, /user is the login page. So let's say this is another thing you'll probably end up doing: edit primary links. And let's say I want to have a login link up there. You can go to town to primary links. You can add an item. It says login, and I'll map it to the user URL. And this path field is anything that follows the folder that Drupal is sitting in. So you've got that question mark Q equals whatever, that's the path. So I hit submit. And when I go there, you're actually going to see my user page. I'll put it in here. So if I hit login, I get a login form. So I'll do that a lot just to clean up that interface so I don't have a login form on the page.
Jeff, is the default location /user, or did you make that /user by creating a page?
That's the default location.
That is the default.
Yeah. And as you use Drupal, you'll get familiar with what some of these paths are. But in other sites, let's say you want to have real quick access to adding a blog post. So you could make a menu item that was, well, here in this case we'll do story. So copy that shortcut. And create new story. And now I can just do node/add/story. And now I've got a quick link to go straight to adding a story. So that's sort of how the pathing system works.
Could it be any easier, maybe?
From the user perspective.
I'm sure user management all happens through admin, users, add users, edit their roles, things like that.
Can you talk about access?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, she was just telling me what to talk about next.
Oh, actually, I have a request like that too. Can you talk a little bit about moderation, content moderation?
Sure. So, let's see. Okay.
Why don't you show them
Well,
what you have a lot of users.
Yeah. So there are kind of two concepts of content moderation. One is moderating content that already exists, and then moderating who can create content. And so for content that already exists, under administer, there's this content link, and it gives you the ability to filter out different, but you kind of get this list of what content has recently been created, who created it, you know, and you can edit it, things like that. This published right there, it can also be set to unpublished. So, like if you have someone that, if you have it set up so that comments get posted in a moderation queue, they'll be set to unpublished, and then you can go through and moderate those comments that way. And then in terms of access control, that's all under administer access control. And let me jump back over here. By default, Drupal has two roles: anonymous user and authenticated user. Basically, that's someone who's been who's logged in and has an account, or someone who doesn't. And so, generally, my practice is that I don't really give much permission to either setting. Like the basic settings for authenticated user are generally pretty good. You know, leave comments, search content, do some basic stuff. But you can add your own roles. So let's say we wanted to make an author role. And we want this person to be able to, we want people in this role to be able to create content. So I can filter down just to this role and start setting permissions. So they should be able to post comments without approval. They should be able to, in this case, let's say we want them to be able to administer content. And if this is confusing, node in Drupal means like a piece of content.
It can be a story, it can be a page,
Right.
any content.
An image.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's stuff. We want to be able to create pages, edit on pages, create stories, edit on stories. We could keep going there.
Jeff,
Yeah.
what does access content mean? Wouldn't that be the default?
Yeah, and if an anonymous user can do something, or an authenticated user can do something, any other roles that someone has, if I've got an authenticated user role set to myself, I can do anything in that role, and I can do anything in the author role. So I don't need to get crazy with the author role and set all those permissions again if I know that they already exist in something someone has. But you can if you want. It's not going to hurt. I thought I saw it.
I did, and it might be a stupid question. I just don't know. Well, I know that in CMS it kind of just creates these pages. Like for our site, we have a lot of slash. I want to go to $1, just there they are. So can you create hard links still within it? Okay.
That's a real good question. Does everyone kind of get the access control stuff? You can set a bunch of different roles, and then you can, just through editing a user, If someone's in. You can set a role. So like I'll make Matt an author. And now he can create content if he wants to. To get to your question, let's say I make, I'll make a page, the about page. I gotta enable a module first. Let me hit submit here. So our about page exists now. This is something you'll have to set up too. So administer modules, and then there's this module down here called path. Allows users to rename URLs. When I hit save, now when I go back to that piece of content and edit it, I've got this extra setting here, URL path settings. So I can hit in there about. And now, how do you see down here? Question mark Q equals about. I don't know if you can see that.
I can see that, but up in the URL, then it won't.
Yeah, so up in the URL. And this leads me into the next thing, this question mark Q thing. You can turn on what's called clean URLs.
Oh.
And really all it does is it removes the question mark Q equals. And it's right here under. Is it the
access side is already done?
Clean.
Yeah.
The Apache configuration.
Yeah, he's got the direct admin stuff involved.
Would there be some kind of warning if a user tried to enter a URL that another user had already named one of their pages?
Yeah. So you have to run a clean URL test. What that does is it makes sure that you don't turn on clean URLs and then can't get to your content anymore, which is how it used to work. Then you have to go manually edit your database. So now that's enabled. Save. Now when I go back, now it's a completely clean URL.
Speaking of how things used to be versus how they are, I see you have 5.0 modules. So that's, you guys are already working on that too, huh? And 5.0.
Oh, in the repository?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Just so you're aware, some of the stuff in the 5.0 area isn't ready yet. It's noted as that in the log file.
Well, if you create like several sub pages on the main page, can you kind of set it in such a way that only a certain type of user can access on the certain type of page, or the settings are like for everything?
So, yes, in two different ways. Based on the content type, so you could say only users with this permit, with this access, can view videos, right? Or with the groups module, which takes a little bit extra setup, you can publish content just to a group of people so that only people within a certain group can view this piece of content.
Group or role?
It's two different concepts. Like roles within Drupal are global. So throughout the entire system, you have a set of roles. But once you enter a group, content can be specific to just one group, if that makes sense. Groups aren't really an access control mechanism outside of can you view this piece of content or not. Whereas access controls are really fine-grained stuff like can you create content, can you upload files, can you administer users, things like that. Does that make sense? Yes.
How do we do the groups?
Groups? I'll show you a very useful site here. Drupal.org/project/modules. This is a listing of all the modules that are available. The group module is called organic groups. And there are actually a bunch of different modules that branch off of it that integrate group type functionality into different things on the site. Yeah.
Is there a module or plugin or something that will allow for formatting content using something other than HTML tags?
Yep. Let me jump back to the web theme site. Is this one you have on the install tron yet?
No, it's not available.
Okay. But it's easy enough to install yourself.
Yeah, I've got a target file that can distribute it.
Oh, okay.
So you can also distribute.
You can see if I come to create content on this site. Let me make an article. So I've got this nice editor here. That's a plugin called TinyMCE. And it's an open source toolkit for, well, it's not entirely open source, but mostly open source. It's free.
And that's what you guys recommend, because presumably there are several that have been developed out there, but if you guys have already had a chance to look and see what you recommend, this is the one?
Yeah.
This is the one we recommend,
Okay.
and I have actually a full installation. This is actually a 3-part install, but I have the full installation ready to go, and you guys drop me a note, and I will send you the whole 6-part.
Is this also like, I partially saw the top right menu that like you can throw a podcast in here?
Yeah, so what you're seeing here is we've downloaded and put on a bunch of additional modules. So audio is one of them. Book themes is one of the default content types if you enable that book content type. Video is another module you can download. The video module is actually really cool because it lets you just upload a video file and it takes care of the code for rendering it on the page, which if you've ever put video on a web page is a complete pain. So it just writes it all out for you.
If you notice also, we deactivated the story in the page because we didn't think those content types really made sense to our users. So you can do that also, and then create your own that make more sense.
There are also content types. There's a content type module where you can actually develop custom content types.
Correct. Yep.
Say what forms you want exactly for the user information.
I was going to kind of talk about some of the modules I use all the time. One is the one he's talking about called Content Construction Kit. You'll find it under CCK a lot of times. It lets you, through the web, build your own content types. So let's say you wanted to have like registration for a conference or something like that. You can build the form to do that using the content creation kit. Another one is called Views, which is essentially like a UI for querying your content. If you're familiar with databases, you're really just building queries of your content. So show me all the video that has a category of Drupal and was posted after June 2005. You know, you can do lots of fun stuff like that.
Can you show the integrated search?
Yeah. So Drupal has a search, and you can either just do keyword search, or you can get really specific in how you search your content. Search only certain content types, only certain categories, things like that. The only catch to this is you have to set up cron on your site, because PHP is a request-based architecture. It doesn't constantly run and index your website. So I don't know if we've got anything up on the web community site about it yet, but I should put it
Yeah. Is
functionality out of the box, or is that another module?
That's it comes with Drupal, but if I remember correctly, you have to enable it. You have to turn on the module.
Additional functionality that we provide through this, we do have cron management, cron job management. And basically what I'm doing is running a cron as a shell script. Anyone not familiar with shell scripts? We're trying to make that available, that a script template is available through the community site that way you guys can look at it and build your own cron jobs if you need to.
I know this is really scary, but I don't really know anything about cron, and I was able to set one up last night. It's not as scary as it looks.
Yeah, it's much scarier.
Would our content be available in student searches on Google, on the normal search, on the ASU site? Pulling up that information for that?
If you're, as long as you're publishing your content so that it's publicly viewable, and you're on a domain that gets indexed by Google, you should.
Yeah, we have a Google search appliance, and if you need your sites indexed, just ensure that it's indexed. Let us know, and we'll put it into the keyword on the search appliance. Make sure it gets indexed.
So anything that's
presented within our page, or it goes through all pages that will help. Like for example, if you have so many Drupal pages at ASU, you will search through all Drupal pages at ASU, or all
No, you can actually narrow it down to search a certain site only.
So this search form right here just searches the site I'm on.
This search is just internal to Drupal.
Every instance of Drupal?
No,
just
this. Every instance of Drupal created through the direct admin is a separate site.
I'm sorry, I came in just a couple minutes late, and we'd already gone into the 2222 site. Is that something that we can log into, or?
It's per request basis. Send me an email, Adrian Teo at ASU UTO. We are also building an online form on forms at ASU UTO to request that service.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there a way that like you can enable this search for the whole column that any image interpreter, all HTML that we have?
Because we have this project,
right?
And we have several Drupal pages within it. So can we set the search that we go through all the pages together?
That will be done by Google search engine, and if you let me know, I'll tell
Are you saying that you're building
multiple
totally
sites? They're building
separate
totally separate
Yes,
sites.
totally separate pages.
Because you can build separate sites off the same database.
It won't search on this builder.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It treats them as completely separate sites.
Anyway, to wrap up, I think we 1 hour is up. But anyone has any questions? Was this useful? And we hope to have more of these workshop sessions. So if you find it useful, or you need us to cover certain topics during the experimentation, you have more questions, feel free to email me. Let me know. We'll plan this second workshop 2, maybe 3 weeks out from now. Anyone any questions right now?
I guess maybe just kind of a general, is there like a general timeline of like, well, we'd like everybody to be using this or transfer their current sites, or, any kind of timeline on that?
There's no current plan for timeline.
So it's just kind of
Just getting here.
Right.
We're not trying to rush anyone.
Okay.
Anybody who did not directly get an email from Adrian, if you want to give me your email address, and we'll make sure that you get any notices about anything, any other meetings, and make sure you get on the list. I'll just start passing this around. If somebody would start another page over on that side. Right. You can also find any information on the web community site. And as we get that, but as we get
Well, first was
Captain Marsh.
But still, all the modules you might want to use.
I did. I don't know what it was. I was talking about enabling video and how that would definitely be a better server performance. Whether you can do 4K